What's good, everyone? It's Blackbeard What Ifs back with another video, and this is, I guess, part two it is part two of what if Deku had the Infinity Stones. Now, I saw some of you commenting that it was, that how is the Infinity Stones because it looks more like Ultra Ego, and I just want to specify. This is the Infinity Stones because he's gonna get the Infinity Stones in part 3, or he's gonna get another one in part 3. But how I'm doing this is each two parts is gonna be a different stone. So these first two parts are about the Power Stone. The other two are going to be about another stone, and then after that, I'm not gonna spoil which stone it is. Y'all gotta figure out on your own. Try and guess is what I'm saying. So yeah, and the reason why I used this image is because he now has the abilities of the Power Stone. And the Power Stone is just raw energy, raw destructive energy. Like uh not Ultra Ego, because I don't really like Ultra Ego, so I'm just gonna say more like destroyer mode, like Hakaishin mode. And that's why I did all of this. Like, that's why I put this image in and everything, because he looks kind of like this when he uses the Power Stone, but that doesn't necessarily mean he has Ultra Ego, because his ego doesn't get any bigger. He gets a confidence boost, but his ego doesn't get any bigger, and it doesn't rely on his ego. Swear to God. But yeah, that's just so you all got the gist of it. So yeah, well, let's get started. So where we left off, Deku and Todoroki were about to go into not about to go into the entrance exams. They were about to start their 10-month training. And over the 10th month training, Todoroki has improved his fire and ice because Deku finally got him to use his fire abilities. Mostly because, you need to use both of your powers if you want to ever get close to beating this. Like, you're just not going to beat it unless you're going all out. And even if you are going all out, this is like raw power, so you're not really beating it. So yeah, that's about it for that. So while Todoroki, he's improved his fire and ice to the point where he has pretty good control over it. And they've also improved their mind. They've done like meditating and training so that no one can mind control them. Well, not no one can mind control them. It's very, very hard to mind control them. So yeah, it's pretty hard. And in the case of like someone like Shinzo or someone like All For One who have mind control quirks, yeah, it's gonna be very difficult. Like, for All For One, it's gonna be very, very hard to mind control someone like Deku. But for Shinzo, he's just not gonna be able to, because they're on completely different levels of mind control. Shinzo's on like tier 1, All For One's on tier 50. Y'all get my drift? So basically, over that 10 month, like I said, they're training their bodies, they're training their mind, and they're overall just doing all types of training. Trying to be flexible, trying to be good at martial arts, trying to be good with weapons. Todoroki has taken up many types of martial arts using his powers, or using his quirk. Meanwhile, Deku, he's gotten more into, I guess you could say, swordsmanship, if you could call this a regular sword. But yeah, he made a sword like this, because I feel like it. Yeah, he has a sword like this. and he only uses it when he's using a certain type of stone, like the power stone, or really that's about it. No other stone could really handle the no other stone could really be put to use with a physical weapon like this when they are all non-physical type things. Except for the time stone, I guess, but yeah. So Deku's using the power stone with the weapon, and whenever he does, the weapon does like not get ignited in flames, but it does gain a purplish aura around it. As you can see little cracks in it and everything. And whenever he does like a slam, it sends this huge shockwave back. Like, crap. You all know Black Panther and like how whenever he gets enough kinetic energy, if you hit him again, it'll send a shockwave. That's essentially what the shockwave looks like. It's just this purple shock. Yeah, it's just this purple blast that comes from him that knocks people back. And Todoroki, on the other hand, has learned how to what do you call it? Like, he's learned how to be open and at the same time closed off from people, all while uh him learning how to be really good at interrogating, because Todoroki kind of wants to be an underground hero, because really it's a little bit better and a little bit easier to use your fire side in the nighttime than it is to use your fire side at the daytime. And if you all may be wondering how, it's called burn them before they can do anything. Yeah, they'll see the fire, but if you shoot it before they can actually do anything, there isn't much they can do. You get right behind them, you ignite, they turn around, and you blast them. And that's kind of how it is. Meanwhile, Deku, he wants to be a more open hero, not because fame or anything, but it's a little hard to conceal your presence well, when you look like this half the time. Like that's about it. Like, when you activate your power, you look like this. So now it's just kind of all right, so what the hell are you going to do now? Type of thing. Like, how can you hide when you're literally glowing in the dark? Like a glow in the dark Kit Kat. Like, it makes no sense. But, uh, crap, I'm trying to remember. Oh, so after, those 10 months of training, Deku's body, he's bulked up quite a lot. About about to where Vegeta is. So he has all that muscle mass. But at the same time, Deku's wearing clothing, or the clothing that he's wearing, you can't really tell unless he takes it off. So to everyone else, he looks just a little bit bigger, but not exactly muscly. Like, you can't tell until he actually takes off uh his shirt or whatever, and you can see, well, everything. So, and most of the time he will take off his shirt just because he's not a big fan of ripping his clothing. So, what ends up happening is after, like, how long would it be? Yeah. Oh, yeah. After the 10 months of training, they make it to the entrance exam where, Deku's walking in with, uh, what's his name? Todoroki. And when he's walking in with Todoroki, you know, like, he's walking in, he sees Katsumi. Well, both of them see Katsumi, and they just kind of give her a dirty look and walk away. As she looks at them and she wants to say hi, but they just walk clean past her. As as they make it to the main part, and Shoto's like, "All right, my dad had me do recommendations, so I'll catch you later, Midoriya." And she's like, "Yeah, no problem, Shoto. I'll see you." She's like, "Yeah, see ya." As no, they do an old fashioned bit fist bump, and they go their separate ways. So Deku, he walks into the place, he sits down, As you know, President Mike, he does his little shtick. I don't know what that he said. I can't remember. But basically, they get started on the first part of the entrance exam, the written portion. And Deku, he didn't study as much, but he did study. So he got about like a 79 out of 100. Yeah, he got 79 out of 100, and that's pretty good. And really, he got at first he had a 60, but what bumped him up to the 79 was uh he answered some of the questions in ways that no one would really expect. So that's what got him up to the 79. So, after that the comes the physical part, the physical portion, where President Mike is explaining everything about the different robots. When all of a sudden someone stands up and they're like, excuse me, you happen to forget about the last robot as seen on this pamphlet, the bigger one. And if you all really forgot about that, that really says a whole lot about uh, UA, doesn't it? As uh, President Mike is like, I was about to get that until you interrupted me, you little bastard. As you know, he kept that last bit to himself, but the random kid is like, oh, all right, sorry, and you, as you know, he as you know, the random boy points towards Deku, who's kind of just like, how would you put it, drinking, and they're like, excuse me, you can't do that in here. As he's like, well, they never said I couldn't, so yeah, unless you work here, which it doesn't look like you do. I don't know what to tell you other than bye bye. As they're all like, uh, as Ida's like, and like he sits down, very, very angry. Like he sits down and he's very pissed, but he's like, you know what, whatever. Well, no, Deku's like, you know, whatever. Meanwhile, the person with glasses is like, how dare he talk to me like that? I am Tenya Ida from the proud family, from the proud Ida family. How dare he? As uh, they're all or not. I keep forgetting stuff. So after all that, President Mike is like, all right, so when the countdown begins, you all can go. 5, 4, and as he's counting, the door opens, and in an instant, Deku transforms, grabs his blade off his back, and just jumps, or not jumps, but he like blitzes through, going fast. Like he is coming like a rocket right now. And, everyone's like, hey, that dude's cheating. You didn't finish counting. As uh, President Mike is like, no, he did the right thing. What type of hero waits for a countdown to go fight a villain? Go, go, go. As they're all like, oh, crap, yeah, why didn't we think about that? And they're all like sprinting through as, we go to we go into the, I don't know what that's called, the podium or whatever. Or not podium, but like, I don't know, where the little box where they're watching all the students. So in there are, the top 10 heroes, Eraserhead, and Nezu, along with all of the students that took the recommendation. So in other words, All Might, or not All Might, Izumi and Bakugo. Because, yeah. Oh, and Shoto, but Shoto's not talking to any of them. So, and, Inko's there as well. So, they're all looking at Izuku. They're all looking for him. They can't seem to find, like, they're not looking for him, but, like, Nezu's like, so, does anyone have any, does anyone think, can't find the right word. Does anyone have any good ideas of who's going to be the top student at the moment? As All Might immediately comes in and he says, "Oh, well, I think young Izumi over here is going to be a pretty good hero." As Endeavor's like, "No, no, my Shoto is going to be very strong." As Inko, she's like, maybe Bakugo. As they're like, well, let's ask the recommendation students. As Izumi and Bakugo, they get in their feelings and they're over here acting so prideful. They're like, yeah, it's totally gonna be us. As Shoto, like, they ask him, they're like, well, what about you? As he just kind of points at the screen. He's like, well, I think it's gonna be that guy. As they turn their heads to the screen and they just see, well, basically Deku with hair like Vegeta's and a body like Vegeta's, just swinging around this massive blade, and he's just absolutely ripping through these robots. Because one thing he did, he charged up energy into the blade, and he threw it so the weapon was twirling, and it went around hitting all the robots around him before it came back to him. And when it came back, he just stabbed his blade into the ground, which sent back a huge shockwave, which blasted some of the robots apart. As they're all like, huh, wow, he's actually quite strong. Let's see his quirk. As they see, they look at Deku's quirk, and they look at his thing, and they're like, Izuku Midoriya. Quirk Infinity? What's that? As Shoto's like, I don't know, but man, he is one fun guy to be around. As they're all like, wait, you know him? She's like, yeah, I do. He's pretty fun. We hang out sometimes. He actually trained me on how to use my quirk better. As Endeavor's like, huh, well, I guess I must thank him for teaching my Shoto how to be really good. Because I decided, why not change it up a little? Endeavor's gonna actually be a okay person. Like, he's still gonna be kind of a dickhead, but at the same time, he's not gonna be that much of a dickhead as he was. So, yeah. Kind of a dickhead, kind of not. So, yeah. That's basically Endeavor. So, Endeavor, he's like, I probably should thank him for training my Shoto. Even though Shoto is going to be the number one hero, not him. As, Shoto, he's like, Dad, look. He's literally swinging around a giant-ass blade. And he's doing it without breaking a sweat. As eventually, Aizawa also looks at him and he's like, yeah, I see a whole lot of potential in that kid. As what ends up happening is Aizawa turns towards Nezu and he's like, hey, rat, bring out the 0-pointer. As instantly Nezu's like, I thought you would have never asked. And no, he hits the button while laughing maniacally. And while that, like, after he hits the button, Deku, he's still cleaving through these robots right now. Like, he is absolutely melting them. And while that's happening, he's he hears rumbling. Like, he hears and sees rumbling. As he turns his head and he's like, huh? What the heck? As he looks up and he sees this huge robot looming overhead. And he's like, about time I was given a challenge. As, he takes his blade, he stabs it into the ground, and he's like, all right, let's do this. As he starts powering up a whole lot, and everyone running, they're running, and then they stop and they look at him, and they're like, what the heck's he doing? As he's just charging up energy more and more into his body, and he's just charging all this energy, and you can hear like just this faint ringing, and that's basically just all the power coming from him. It's making this ringing, and it's starting to hurt everyone as he's putting even more power, and now the ringing is going away. the The sound of just the power coming from him is deafening the ringing noise that's coming from him. As no all the heroes and the three recommendations, they're looking at Deku in awe right now, especially Todoroki, because he's like, I have not seen him do this yet. As he's like, all right, let's see if this works. As that huge aura all around him, it begins to travel to his arm and then travel down his arm to his hand. And now that purplish aura is around his hand as he grabs his hand with his other arm. He uses his arm and he grabs his hand and he says, Hakai. As in his hand, you can see a small purple ball forming, and the ball's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, as now it's about the size of a full-on basketball. And he's like, nah, I can push it even further. And he's pouring more power into it, pouring more of his stamina into it. So now it's the size of a beach ball. And he's like, all right, I think this might work. As he just jumps up and sends the ball flying straight at the 0-pointer. And when it hits the 0-pointer, it goes into the 0-pointer, and the 0-pointer just starts fading. Like, it just starts turning to dust then and there. And everyone there is just sitting there in awe, because they're like, holy hell, we're not beating that. It doesn't matter what we are, we're not beating that. As eventually, like, after that happens, he jumps, or he comes back down. He lands on the ground, and he starts panting heavily as he's like, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. Oh dear God. As his hair goes back to normal, it goes back down, it turns green again. As he's just like, oh dear Christ, I was not ready for that. Okay. As he gets up and he grabs his sword, using it kind of like a cane, as he hears someone asking for help, and he turns, and he would see these two girls stuck under a rock. As, one of them is, I can't think of a good name for her, so at the time I'm just going to call her by her last name, which is Monoma. So, help me think of a good name for her, please, guys. I'm going to need help with this. I'm not good with names at all. So, there is, female Monoma and Ijura. Yeah, Ijura Kirishima. Both of them stuck under a rock. And Deku, he's like, oh, come on. Alright. As he makes his way over to them, and he's like, alright, are y'all ready? He's like, do y'all need help? As they're like, yeah, please, if you could, help us. As he's like, yeah, sure, give me a second. As he uses the last bit of energy he has to put power into his arm, as his arm gets this purple aura as he swings his blade up and brings his blade down on the rock, which just causes it to shatter. The rock just straight up shatters. And like the thing of after Deku does that, he's like, okay, now if y'all don't mind, I'm going to take a nap. As he just kind of passes out, because yes, he may have control over his form, but that doesn't necessarily mean he has full control. Because, think about it a lot like Super Saiyan. Yeah, he can transform into it on a whim. Like, he can transform into it easily, but he still needs to build up his stamina so it doesn't drain him out easily. Because, yeah, now he can into it whenever he pleases, but he still needs to, he still needs to, how would you put it? Like, I guess you could say, yeah, he still needs to, yeah, just do stamina training, a whole bunch of stamina and endurance training so he can so he can stay in that form longer. So after he passes out, Monoma and Kirishima, they're both like, are you okay? As he's still just knocked out. And they decide to use their strength to pick him up and take him to the nurse's office. And while they're doing that, they look at each other and they realize that he is kind of cute, and they're like, all right, so if we do get with him, are we willing to share? As Kirishima's like, yeah, I don't mind. That sounds like the manly way to go. Only a true only a true man would be willing to share. As Mom was like, yeah, sure, all right. And they take him to the recovery girl's office where she heals him up and everything, and he just kind of lays down, and he's just like they lay him down, and he's just like all types of tired. He is worn out. His body is just like dead. Like his body is just done for the day. He's like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I ain't doing that again. As he gets well, he gets one visitor that he wanted to have, but the other two were he didn't want. So first comes in is Shoto asking how he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm doing fine, bro. And the second one is, of course, Inko and Izumi. Or, was it Izumi or Izuna? I think I said Izuna. Yeah. Inko and Izuna. So, they, they all come in. They try to hug him, but no. He just kind of grabs his sword that's, literally on the hospital bed. He grabs the sword and he points at them and he says, any closer and I will stab one of you. As Inko's telling him to stop. Like, she's like, stop this nonsense right now and come home. As he's like, what, so you all can beat on me some more? Nah, I'm good. I think I like my body the way it is. Yeah, it may have scars, but it's not gonna keep getting them anytime soon. As he would, after all that happens, he has a huge argument with the family because they're trying to get him to come home, but he's not coming home. But after all that, he basically goes home, sleeps a little. He gets his package saying that he was accepted at UA. And after he gets that package, him and Shoto both get the same outfit. He puts on his, but thing is, the actual UA outfit he didn't feel like wearing, so he just puts it on his shoulders. Like, he rests the coat onto his shoulders. And he's just walking into school with it on his shoulders, being a very big, well, not big, but he's about 6 foot, 6'5". So kind of on the tall side, or yeah, 6'9". I'll just say that. So yeah, he's tall, not that tall, but pretty tall. Or average height, I don't know. I'm short, okay? I'm 5 something, okay, guys? I'm short, so I don't really know what an average height is. Especially seeing how I'm below average, so, yeah. So, I guess you could say, he's 5'9", and he's walking into the school and everything. Or, no, not 5'9", he's 6'9", and he's walking into the school, and when he's walking into it, he's like, huh, this school really is like big. It's like a maze. As Shoto's like, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. As he's like, well, let's try to find our class. As they're looking around all four. They're looking around for class 1A, and they can't seem to find it. And eventually, they do find they do like eventually run into someone that works there, and the person that works there guides them to where the class is. And once they make it to that class, what's his name? Deku would happen. Like, he opens the door and everything to see Bakugo and Ida, like Katsumi and Ida, arguing back and forth as he just like walks past and sits down. He doesn't even try to do anything. He sits down, and uh what and Shoto sits next to him, and behind both of them is Monoma and Kirishima, because those two are going to be the ship, because I feel like it. They both are hot, okay? Y'all got a problem? Fight me. So, uh, after, they sit down, Monoma and Kirishima, they're like, wait, you're the guy that saved us, right? The dude with that, like, purple quirk or whatever? As he's like, yeah. As they're like, huh, well, that's actually very cool. I wonder what your quirk is. As he's like, maybe you'll find out, maybe you won't. You never know. You never know. As eventually Aizawa comes in, and Aizawa's like, alright, it took you all 7 seconds to shut up. That's way too long. Here at UA, we're gonna have to bump that down a little. Everyone here, get your training outfits on, and let's go. Or grab a P outfit and go, and meet me at the training field. As Aizawa walks out, but Uraraka, she's like, wait, what about orientation? But right as she says that, Deku and Shoto just get up, walk over, grab they grab a PE outfit, and they walk out. They walk over to the what's it called? Uh uh locker rooms, and Deku, he sees the peephole, but what he decides to do is, before anyone else comes in, he just moves one of the lockers a little bit to the left so they can't see it. So he moves the locker over. They get dressed, and before you all are wondering why he moved the locker, instead of Mineta being taken out, it was actually what was his name? That dude with the voice quirk. Like, I think his name was Koda or whatever. The one that could talk to animals. That dude. Yeah, y'all barely remember him. Yeah, same here. But yeah, that guy that barely talks to animals, he is in class 1B instead. So yeah, that's about it. So afterward, like, you know, Deku and Shoto, they're out there but they're out there by Aizawa, and Aizawa would happen to like turn. He's like, so what is up with you? As Deku's like, what do you mean? As he's like, you have a huge sword. Your quirk is like overpowered as hell. Who are you? As he's like, you'll probably find out shortly, knowing how my family is, or knowing how they are. You'll find out shortly. As they're all like, or not they're all. Aizawa's like, okay, kid, whatever. As eventually class 1A comes out, and Aizawa's like, okay, first thing you all are going to be doing is the ball throw. So can the number one please come up? As Bakugo's about to walk up, but then Deku smooth comes past her, and she's like, "Wait, what? I thought I was number one. How can this quirkless nerd get? Uh, how can this quirkless nerd get number one and not me? I'm the best." As Deku looks at her and he says, "Obviously not. If I'm up here." And he grabs the ball, and as I was like, "Throw it with your max power. You can use your quirk." As he's like, "Okay, well, let's do it." As he powers up, and they can see, the three diamonds in his chest. As he's powering up, his hair's going up, and he's just gaining this aura around him. As he's like, "All right, let's send it." As he just flings the ball, and it goes flying. Like, it is just gone. Hey, I think it left UA. Like, it left UA's campus. It left Japan. As once it finally touches down, it just says one word, and the word is just Afghanistan. As they're like, wait, it landed all the way there? How the hell? As he's just like, I have a good throwing arm. As they're like, yeah, sure, throwing arm, all right. And what ends up happening is Deku, like, with Deku using his quirk so much, like, after he's using his quirk, he turns it off, and he's breathing a little bit heavily, but not a whole lot. As he's like, all right, so what's the next? As Mina and Kaminari, they're like, oh, we can use our quirk. Oh, this is totally gonna be fun. As he's like, fun, huh? No, not really, cause the person in last place is getting expelled. As everyone's like, wait, what? You can't do that. As he's like, yes, I can. Life is unfair. Get used to it, kid. You think you think villains are gonna be fair and let you get the first shot? No. They're about to take any dirty tactic they can to win. Targeting your friends, your family. It doesn't matter. You just need to be ready for it at all times. As Deku, Deku, he looks at Aizawa and he's like, well, he's my favorite teacher already. And right as after he does that, basically for the rest of the training exercise, Deku absolutely demolishes everyone. He just rips through them. In the running, he activates, he blitzes to the end. In, like, the side-to-side jumping, he doesn't do that well, but he does do pretty good. But, like, he's just doing amazing. The high jump, he did it. The vertical jump, he did it. Like, everything he just did perfectly. And there's really nothing they could have done against it. So, and like when he went up against Ida, he kind of broke Ida's pride because Ida was all about speed, and yeah, he nicely proceeded to get demolished by Deku. So he's like, "Why are we here? Just to suffer?" And like he's not too happy about that. Along with Todoroki, who got like second place. Well, no, he got like third place, but still pretty good. And Deku still once again undefeated. Like, no one's beating him. And yeah, that's basically how that went. And when they all show who's at the top and who's at the bottom, the invisible girl, she's like, please don't expel me. I promise I'll be better. I promise, I promise. Uh as what ends up happening is crap, how do you call it? Or what do you call it? Aizawa, he says, "Oh, don't worry, I wasn't going to do that. This is only a trick to have you all work at your hardest." As they're like, "What?" And Momo's like, "I thought you all couldn't realize." And the whole class, they turn, they're like, "Why didn't you tell us?" And Deku's like, "Oh, no, 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 he's not lying. He was going to expel you all, but he saw potential in us. Why do you think there's no class 2A?" As they're all like, "Oh, dear God. So you don't mean," yeah, he probably expelled that class. As they're all like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we need to bump it up." And that's actually where I'm going to leave this one off for now. Well, no. They all go home and that's basically it. Like, Izuna and Katsumi try to talk to Todoroki and Deku, but it doesn't really go like that. So, yeah. Yeah, no. None the slightest. Not at all. Not a bit. So, yeah. And what ends up happening is, like, they go home. Deku trains some more. His stamina improves more, so now he can stay in that form for about, like, I'll say 2 hours at max. Yeah, he can stay in that form for about 2 hours, which is pretty good compared to All Might, who can only, work for, I think, an hour a day. So, yeah, Deku's doing pretty good compared to him. And that's actually where I'm going to leave this one off with, Deku training his body or training his stamina more and more. So really, yeah, I'm probably gonna maybe going to do a couple more videos after this, but don't hold me on it. And don't get mad at me if I don't come out with any others, because I said maybe, okay, guys? But yeah, with that out of the way, really, that's about it. If you have any ideas for videos you want me to do, put those in the comments. And I'll try my hardest to do research on them and look at them. And we'll not do research on them and try to make them. But with that out of the way, that'll be Blackbeard What Ifs signing off. See ya.